Good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you're at. You're all over the place. So I'm Ed Stroud. I am help hosting today's event here on the Agent Growth Hub along with Mr. Jim Black. And we are missing the Novaks today. Rachel and Mike are out enjoying life and making memories, and they're doing some pretty cool stuff. But we do have a special guest today, and Rachel is a good friend of Maison Champagne. Maison Champagne. So I had to practice that. Yes, thank you. But yeah, she's here today. We're going to all collaborate, but she's definitely here today to help lead a little bit on persistence in business and those agent-to-agent relationships and why they're so important. And so I'm going to turn it over to her. And so welcome. And I think you're our first official guest on the Agent Growth Hub. So how about that?
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you. I was definitely excited when Rachel reached out to ask me to help. I absolutely love to help people. I have a passion for collaboration and education, and I'm excited to do this. So Rachel and Mike definitely helped me kind of scope down on some things that they wanted me to provide some value on, and persistence is really, really important right now. And so I have some stuff to chat about with persistence, and then also agent to agent relationships, because like Jim mentioned earlier before we started recording, that is so important now more than ever. And not just within our own personal communities, not just here in Seattle where I'm from, but definitely keeping our agent to agent relationships open company wide and industry wide and countrywide. So little bit about me. My first name is Maison. There is a J in the middle. That's okay. Makes my life interesting. And I am a full-time real estate agent out here in the Seattle market. I'm originally from New England, so I will drop an R occasionally and talk about bubbles and the dunks and go into all of those things. So if you hear me dropping a few consonants once in a while, that's because it's hard to drop that. But I'm a full-time real estate agent out here in Seattle. I've been here for about 9 years. I help co-lead the Greater Sound real estate team. There's a couple of gals here from my team currently on, Amanda and Miriam. And I've absolutely loved my position on the team and helping everybody out here. One of the reasons I'm here is to talk about persistence. So I do have a little slideshow, but Ed and Jim, is there anything you want me to cover before I jump in?
I think that was a great opening. I do have you set up to be able to share your slides, I think. So I just did that. So hopefully you're good to go there.
Right,
Yep. We're going to be able to understand you because you're going to have your Boston accent.
Perfect. All right,
Well,
let's see if I can get this working. All right. So do you see where it says fail and go again?
yeah.
All right. So persistence, what I have found about persistence is it's all about failure, right? Because we cannot succeed without stumbling and falling and getting back up. And you can't be successful in life, whether it's in business or relationships or friendships or parenting or driving your car down the street without running somebody off the road, without failing. So failing is essential to success, and it's how we handle those failures that really dictate how we grow as a person. So let's see here we go. All right. So I have found being a super emotional person, I definitely lead with my emotions. I am not the analytical person on my team. I am definitely the person that you come to when you have emotions or questions or you need a sounding board. And so for me personally, sometimes it is easy to get discouraged. It's easy when, you don't get your offer accepted, or maybe you try out for a team and you don't get selected. Or maybe you go out and you do a listing consultation and you don't win that listing. It can be easy to get discouraged. But when you do get discouraged, you just have to keep going. All right, that darkness right there presently directly in front of you is not the end of the line, right? That darkness is just right here and you have to push through it. And one of the keys to that is just working forward with a positive can-do attitude. And for some of us, that's pretty easy. Like I'm definitely a glass half full, 3/4 full kind of person. Other people are not. They're much more pragmatic. They're much more realistic. They see the darker, deeper side a little bit easier than the positive side. And that's okay too, because we need all of those kinds of people to be successful, right? Our team would not be successful if you didn't have me running the emotions and our team leader, Mindy, running all of the logical, analytical stuff, right? And poor Miriam's got to walk on the middle there, right? And keep us all in line. So working through it and just keep going with that positive can-do attitude. It's okay to get discouraged. You just can't stay there. You just got to get up again. So success is not measured in the short term, but in the long-term victories and the longevity of a career, right? How many of us have had a closing and we've gone out and like blown 75% of our commission check, right? On a trip or a bag or a pair of shoes or an expensive meal or something like that, right? It feels really good in the moment to celebrate that success, and that it's really great to shout it from the rooftops and be super duper excited. But you got to remember, once you succeed and once you celebrate, you got to keep pushing forward, because it's that longevity of your career or the longevity of your relationships that actually shows your success. So I love to celebrate and to keep on going and to definitely shout it from the rooftops. But we got to keep in it and we got to keep shoveling forward. All right.
My son, a great book around this, and I bet Chuck has read it just because I know we read a lot of the same stuff. Winning, WINN. It's actually W1NNING, but that's going to really punch you in the gut about success and winning. So I just throw that out there.
Thank you. I just wrote that down because we do a book club on our team too. So we're always looking for new recommendations. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the main secrets to success is keeping persistent. In keeping persistent is to develop a goal and then to take actionable, trackable, and recordable steps, right? It's really easy to just say, hey, I want to have 12 closings this year. That's great. How are you going to get there? Okay, well, I'm going to go on at least 20 buyer consultations. Okay, that's great. How are you going to find those buyers? You know, what are you going to do that? How are you going to keep on track for your goals? And also making sure that you record the information, share it with someone, and just have steps. And that's something that I've really learned a lot from my relationship with the Novaks and with my team is you can have those goals, but a goal without actual steps to do it is just a dream. And dreams are great, but dreams don't become reality unless you actually have some steps in place. So finding a way to record and track and come up with those goals is super duper important. And I'm always looking for new and exciting ways to do that because I'm very much a list person and I love to check things off, but sometimes I don't get granular enough, right? Sometimes you got to dig in and be a little bit more granular in there. So let's talk about planning, execution, recording. You know, these are all important, but also what comes along with that is reevaluating, shifting. If you fall down, get back up, try again, never get up, and you will eventually succeed, right? Teaching my kids to ride bikes is probably not my strong suit, but it's definitely a way to get everybody exercising. And yeah, you fall down and it hurts. Like my kid just came home just now from the park because they're homeschooled and they went out and they were riding their bikes. And the first thing my big 12-year-old did was like, look at this boo-boo. And yes, it hurts. He's getting back on the bike after lunch, right? And it's because it's okay to fall down. It's okay to get hurt. We got to get back up and we got to keep trying again, because if we give up, we'll never succeed.
Right.
All right. Celebrations. We talked about that a little bit earlier, celebrating the small wins as well as the huge victories. And I can tell you, I don't know how many of you in your business last year either didn't do as well as you had the previous years, or you had to shift your business model, or you had to start celebrating different pieces. It wasn't always about the closings. It wasn't always about the sales. Sometimes it literally was just about showing up at the office,
Yeah.
right? You just had to get into the office. You just had to pick up the phone. You just had to make the phone calls. And sometimes you just have to celebrate those little things every single day. Because without those small things, without showing up, you can't make the phone calls, you can't log into your computer, you can't talk to somebody, and you can't get the larger victories. So celebrating those small wins is paramount in actually getting to the huge victories. So that was a big shift that our team in particular had to do last year, because 2023, there was a big decrease in sales. You know, out here in Seattle, everything just came to a grinding halt, right? And we found that we had to have way more conversations, deeper conversations, different conversations, address some fear-based mentalities, make sure we're just keeping in communication with people in order to get them to a place where they were even comfortable talking to a lender, right? Or even comfortable letting us in the front door to even just tour their house, or even letting us set them up on a search. So just those small wins, just getting through that was really, really big for us. And then the last thing right here is have a plan for success, right? If we are constantly thinking about failure and our struggles, if we're constantly thinking about, you know, that loss mentality and that scarcity mentality, and oh my gosh, you know, I've only got 1 or 2 or 0 homes in escrow right now. What am I going to do? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to feed my kids? How am I going to keep showing up positively for my team and the people in my life that matter? That's what you give off, right? And it's okay to be afraid. A lot of us actually grow from fear, and we grow from that place in being very realistic in what's going on. But if we're constantly thinking about the failure and the pain and the scarcity and, oh my gosh, how am I going to make it through the next payday? All of those kinds of things, we're not giving off and we're not attracting the positivity, right? So if I show up at a listing appointment with, oh my gosh, I've got X amount of dollars in bills I got to pay next month, and I've got all of these things I need to do next month, and what am I going to do? Those sellers are going to smell it on me, and they're going to realize I'm not confident in myself. I'm not confident in my ability. I'm really afraid. And if I'm afraid, how can I help them through the process? So you have to really focus on the positivity and the successful outcome. So that's a true mind shift for people, is really just hyping yourself up and having that plan for success. And whatever it is, maybe you listen to positive affirmations in the morning. Maybe you listen to great music. Maybe you connect with somebody you trust, a friend or a family member or a mentor or spouse or somebody, and just say some positive things out loud. Maybe you need to actually offload all of those fears. I know that I've had to go to trusted people and be like, hey, I just need to talk to you about something. I don't need you to actually solve a problem for me. I just need to say these things, because then I need to go to this appointment and I don't need to be thinking about this piece, right? And do I have permission to share these hard things with you? You don't have to fix it. I just have to say it, right? Because then I can focus on showing up and being positive and being a winner in those people's eyes, and getting them to believe in me and trust in me for the process. And I've actually tracked that. If I show up with a scarcity, fear-based mentality, and oh gosh, this is a $4 million listing and I'm never going to win. I'm up against, this dude and this guy and this lady and this track record. Oh my God, I'm going to fail. I'm not going to secure the listing. I'm not going to secure the buyer. If I show up thinking positively and successful about myself and my own abilities, then my success rate is much higher. So That's my super duper fast little thing about persistence. And I'm hoping people have questions, and I'm hoping that there's a lot of interaction that people have.
Well, of course we do. The question is who has the questions? I can start, but I'd love to have somebody else start just to see. I've got plenty of questions around it, I can tell you that.
Well, I don't necessarily have a question. I have a couple of things that have happened in my life. So in 2008, I was well into owning a granite countertop business. And in September of 2008, nobody needed granite countertops. And I was personally guaranteed all over the land, the buildings, the equipment, all the slabs. And I told my wife, hey, if this crashes, we're all going down. Like we're gonna be at zero. And she said to me, and at that time, like we'd been married 20 plus, almost 30 years. And she said, when we got married, we didn't have any money and it was okay.
Wow.
So the permission, like, and she said it that fast. The permission to fail is pretty huge.
Mhm.
And before that, I was just what we called sales and service like I was a grunt at a tire store, and I was working my way up to be a manager. And so I was going down to interview with a whole bunch of the company's brass, and like these were people that I really looked up to, and like they had their shit together. And I was just this punk 28-year-old. And the company had a policy that you couldn't get to be a manager until you were 30. So like I was already kind of going against the grain here a little bit. And so people were asking me if I was nervous, and I said, no, not really. And they thought that was interesting. Well, what had happened to me is one of our clients came in at the store, and she was talking just like we were just having a conversation. She said, my husband 6 months ago was given 3 months to live, and he's still here. And so every day when we get up, we're thinking, hey, we have another day. And I'm like, all right, well, like that is a great little tool to put in your tool belt for life, because like there's so many people that have, so like your $4 million listing analogy, like we get to go to this client's house and take a swing at it. We're alive, we're healthy, we know what we're doing. And if we get it, great. If we don't, like, great. We're not supposed to have it. And so our life is good as it is. Sure. Would we like to have that business? Yes. But all we can do is show up and do the work. And then past that, it's not really up to us. So I'm a faith-based person. It's up to God, or it's up to the universe, as some people say. But if you don't show up, you're not getting it. And if you show up, like you said, if you show up in fear, you're probably not getting it. If you show up and know that you can add value into somebody's life and make their life better, you've got a great shot at getting it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think
whatever it is.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, my son?
I said, I think that's amazing. And Chuck always reminds me every time he shares his stories, and even if you show up and you don't win the listing or you don't win the buyer, you've learned something, right? You've had that opportunity to learn something. And there's been plenty of times when I haven't won the buyer or haven't won the listing the first time around, but I've kept in contact, or I've congratulated somebody when they've gone live with their listing and something changed. Either they didn't hit it off with that particular agent, or life changed, or whatever. And I've gotten the call back. So it's all about the positivity. And I never lose. I only learn. So it's a huge shift in your mindset.
Well, there's a cost to learning everything.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm a guy that started college, didn't finish college, and I told people I went out into life and I still paid maybe even more than what it should cost for a college degree. I just did it differently. And every time you go on a listing appointment, I didn't know what the first listing appointment was that I went on, and I didn't know what to do. I'd never worked in a real estate company. We had our own. And so I had to learn, and I had to fail, and I had to actually, and it cost me money because I didn't win it and we had to move on. So there's a cost to everything. And if you think about it from a value standpoint like that, it might make you pay attention a little more, right?
Mm-hmm. Most
Yeah.
definitely. And it's funny because I have found I have 3 kids. My oldest is 24, currently serving in the military. And one of the reasons
Nice.
he chose that is because mama's going to be paying student loan debt until the day I die. And
Yeah.
he refused to be there. And I did not go to college right out of high school. I had a child at 19. And when I did go back to college, when I at the point had a child who was 6, I was footing the bill, right? And so it cost me way more money at that point, number one, because I was paying everything myself, but I was also super highly motivated to do well because every semester I was cutting checks and they were
I
coming.
bet,
Yeah.
I bet you were a better student.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. But also as an adult student, you learn things a little bit differently than a child student. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, there is a 12-year age gap between child number 1 and child number 2. And so also child number 1 being 24 now has no babies at 24, right? So
Right.
he
Right.
changed some diapers. And so he learned an awful lot when he saw us raising children, right? So there is a cost to everything. And, the first 5 years of his life, I worked 5 jobs. Like I missed so much of his early life because I had to, because I had no choice. And I've been able to do things differently with child number 2 and child number 3 because I'm in a different place of life. But
No
that's very
doubt.
much, it equates very much to the business world in general too.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who else has something on persistence?
I kind of think of it when I
There you go.
like needing to have like something big enough that's pushing me to do this, because I have to ask myself that question: why did I get up today? Why did I show up today? And I think it changes throughout our lives. But I think of like failure, like I'm a great example. I mean, my first year in real estate, what did I make? $15,000 working 70 hours a week. That was a big failure. I showed up the next year too, and I didn't make very much more. And I knew I was not going back to sitting behind a desk, even though I'm behind a desk right now. But I wasn't going back to,
But you're not sitting.
yeah, I'm standing now. But yes, it is snowing behind me, Chuck. It's like insane right now. I don't know why, but yes, it was like ice and all kinds of crazy weather today. But just like having that attitude of like, I'm not going to give up no matter what, it changed kind of who I am as a person to push through that and just say there's no option to turn back. Like I want something bigger than this. And my initial decision was like, I just don't want to go back to a job. Like I don't want somebody to tell me what to do anymore. Then I have a bunch of people that tell me what to do now, but that's okay. But then it was like, okay, and then it started becoming about other people. But like I needed to walk through that initial like ceiling and break through that and go to the next thing. And what I learned is as a child, I was afraid to fail at everything because I was taught that way, that if you're not good at it, don't try it. And then as an adult, I became the person that now tries everything and expect to get hurt and expect to not be great at it. But what I've learned is I've got pretty good at everything I put effort into, because I actually put effort into it over time, whether it be real estate, which I had people tell me on day one, this may not be for you. 14 years later, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I pushed through that anyway. So regardless of whether I should or shouldn't have, or if I had the right personality for it or not, I had enough drive to go and do it. And I think it's like, there's got to be something in there. And like, I think sometimes we have to really like ask ourselves those questions. Like I always think of like Simon Sinek with, start with why, finding your why, just really spending some time, even watching some of those videos he has to help you get to that point where you're like, why do I wake up in the morning? Like what, because people don't just go and do this without having something pushing them.
For me, I think,
go ahead.
so I did a change into real estate It's like my second career, actually. Oh, well, maybe more than second. I've done a lot of different things, but when I chose to come into real estate, it was at a point in my life where I was really unhappy with what I was doing. My family felt really stuck, all of us, where we were at. We wanted to make a big change, and we were actually trying to come up with ways to become entrepreneurs so that we could control our outcome and control where we went. We could move where we wanted to. And we went through many different business plans. I'm talking like 2 years of analyzing and researching, multiple trips to this area because we wanted to be here. And ended up cycling to something so simple. We owned some commercial real estate as part of our family business, and I managed the commercial real estate side of things while my husband managed other parts of that same business. And so I was like, okay, well, I can do this literally anywhere. And that's what had me get my real estate license, because you have to get a license if you don't own the properties. And in that simple, like, aha, I can literally do this anywhere. I think it boiled down to me that it's a matter of just deciding that I'm going to do it, and really, if you kind of drive your life and your business choices and your personal choices in that way, that I can do anything if I choose that it's going to happen, that confidence really is not going to ever let you down. That's where, when you feel that scarcity, like the last half of last year, it's like, no, like, I'm going to work around this. How am I going to still make this happen despite this new market environment? I'm going to choose to keep doing this actively every day. It's a choice I'm making, and I'm not going to make it in vain. And I think that just knowing that you can opt out at any time and yet you're subscribing anyways has so much power. That's what's going to give you that confidence. Like my son was saying, when you show up to those clients, you're going to produce that aura for them, and that's going to only add to your success. But it has to start with you internalizing, hey, I'm opting in today. I choose it today, and I'm grateful I get the chance to take a swing at it. Kind of like what Jim was saying. Because for me, I mean, there's a lot of things that could go wrong if you move 2 states away with a brand new industry. Not only for me, but my husband was stepping into a brand new industry too. Our family could have fallen flat on our face, but both of us said, no, that's not what we're going to let happen. And because we fully trust our word to each other and to ourselves, that's exactly what happened. We are, successful how we would measure. We're continuing to grow that success. And it really just boils down to, hey, I'm opting in every day.
Yeah, that's super powerful, Jen. And it also reminds me about what Ed said, how there's a cost to every decision that we make, right? So every time I make the decision to step out of my house to go to an appointment or to go to the office, I'm taking time away from my family. Right. So I have to actively make the smart decisions, because for every decision I make on the business place, it affects my family, it affects me, it affects the greater picture. And being from the East Coast, I haven't been back to see my family. None of my family lives here. Like, we are the only ones out here. I haven't been back to the East Coast since before COVID. And so every decision I make takes me away from pieces of my family, and it needs to be worth it. It absolutely has to be worth it. And some of those decisions I've made haven't been worth it, and I've had to pay the price. So you just have to make that active decision to wake up every day and choose your life and choose your path. Am I going to choose the hard path that's going to lead me to something promising and fruitful? Or am I going to choose the easy path that's going to lead me to hard, right? Because those are our choices. Either I'm going to work really hard right now to have a better life later for myself and my family, or I'm going to slack off and not make my calls and not, lead generate and not, make those relationships and build those relationships, and then be working until I'm 95 and dead.
Right.
Thank you, Jen. That was really powerful.
That is definitely a realtor's life. If you look at most realtors, is exactly what you just said. I'm going to work till I'm 95 and dead. So look around in your markets and look at the person that's 70 out there running around. It's not because they want to, probably. It's because they have to. Mm-hmm. So planning starts now on that. Yeah.
100%. And none of us want to be working when we're 85 and 90. I'd love to be out there riding elephants like the Novaks. Like, I'd love to be doing that. but you got to work hard now to earn that. You can't just take it. You have to earn that. And every single day we have to make the choice to earn it.
I love
Well,
it.
and the piece that resonates with me, and we talked about this, well, I guess it was Tuesday, today's Thursday, whatever day it is, at our team meeting, is that you make a promise to yourself every day. Like when you get up, if you push snooze, you've broken a promise. You're a liar to yourself. And so like the commitment to ourselves is like has been talked about. Like if you're saying I'm going to do this, well then you have to do that. Or you just lied to yourself. And if you're lied to yourself, you'll lie to anybody else. So I mean, it is kind of a non-negotiable to set a commitment and then just do it. Like it doesn't matter what it costs you to do it. You said you're going to do it. You figure out how to do it.
Chuck, don't you think people lie to themselves more than they lie to other people?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I told the team this. I have a friend who I challenged him on his leading of his family on not controlling their eating. That's not a very fun conversation to have with anybody. And so he took it really well and he was appreciative. And then he said to me, well, will you hold me accountable? And I said, no. And he was surprised. And I'm like, why? I can't hold you accountable. Like I don't live in the same house as you even. Like if you're going to commit to do this, you have to hold you accountable, because like we can cheat at anything. And we will cheat ourselves out of something way more than we would potentially cheat somebody else. So like if you're gonna say I'm gonna do, let's say 75 hard, I'm gonna do 75 hard. You can write whatever you want on the 75 hard thing and not do it. But you've just cheated yourself. You're the only one that you cheated.
Right. Sounds like a game of golf to me.
Yes.
They write down stuff on the golf cart all the time that I didn't see it that way, but okay.
Yeah. I got a 4. I'm like, you had 4 in the bunker.
Oh my. Who else wants to talk about this? Who else has been very good at being persistent or maybe has struggled?
Will?
Yeah, I
Emily,
feel like
bring
I've
it.
had so many of these peaks and valleys. This is now I think I'm in almost 7 months of real estate after leaving the corporate sales environment and tech over the last couple of years. I just lived in the last couple of months of uninformed optimism where everything's in rainbows and sunshine mode, right? And then I had a valley, not valley of despair, but where the tough gets even tougher. And I think that the fortitude, like keeping your long-term goals in mind and breaking those down into bite-sized chunks over what you're going to accomplish through the quarter, through the month, through the week, and then getting that on your calendar on a daily basis. Chuck, I wouldn't say that I have my family, the food under control, and that kind of thing, but it's really hyper
I wasn't calling you out.
Working on it, Chuck. But I think that for us, it's really, as you're saying, Chuck, with your wife and her belief in your business and growth and that you can rebuild again, it's really breaking that down into bite-sized chunks that are allowing you to consistently see the progress and moving forward. So that way, when your lag is far behind and you haven't listed and you haven't signed any buyers, you are still putting those wins on your board for what you're getting done and accomplished. My past was working in beauty with teams across the entire country. And I think some of the toughest times is seeing our number one salespeople not achieve their goals. And someone that's, consistently made bonus, consistently been in the top 3 in the country, as soon as they get hit with those hard moments where they don't have those ego wins where you are the top player, you start seeing this moment of defeat happen and this overwhelm happen of how do I even get back to that same position. especially when you've had consecutive wins. It's really hard to not be a winner. And so I think for me, in this role, as I know that I don't know a lot, knowing like what I can tackle today and feel accomplished with today to keep those wins on board.
Good for you, girl. That's awesome.
Yeah,
And
well,
I don't
so
think I could be in. I don't think I could be in the same office as Chuck and Mike and all them either with the food issue. I'm a food guy. I like food.
Jen's my direct boss, so you're telling me it's definitely something to strive for, but it's not my season right now.
Trust me, I love food. But so to your point of top sales and then not wins. So like everybody on our team knows my situation. Maybe not anybody else on the call, but like I have never been the bottom of the Novak team. Never. And currently I am the bottom. And like that sucks. I don't like being on the bottom. And but hopefully I'm not coming to the office with a defeatist attitude, because I know that, like there's stuff coming up and like you can push as much as you want, but you can't make that buyer or you can't make that seller do anything on your timeline. And so sooner or later, it's gonna pop, but it kind of sucks when it's not popping like the way that you planned it to pop, right?
Sure.
I have to say though, being in Chuck's office, though, maybe feeling that urgency to be fit is a thing. I think for me, it's been really nice and I'm not saying that I like to see you on the bottom, Chuck, but what's nice is because Chuck has been such a key player and a strong leader for us, me as a new agent, I'm sure the other new agents feel the same. If Chuck is struggling and he is still kind of in this moment where he needs to continue to build his business. For us, it's reassuring that the lows can build the highs, and also his vulnerability to say, yeah, it sucks, and to still see him coming in. I had a role play this morning with Chuck and our team, and I learned so much. So though maybe you're not signing a buyer every single day or listing every week like you were in the past, for us, it's been really invaluable to have your experience, to have your humility, and to know kind of the real of real estate, that it's not always winning season. You do have to buckle down and work hard and keep your, I'd say you've had, maybe you're not as happy being on the bottom, but I'd still say you come in with a smile on your face, ready to lend your quality, your skills to the team. And that for me, I see you winning in that way, Chuck. So thank you.
Sure.
I guarantee you're not going to keep Chuck down very long. I can promise you that. So.
No, he's persistent.
I guarantee it. Imagine that. And we brought it all back around.
Good job.
So I had one takeaway I wanted to share that kind of like, it's not my son's exact words, but it stuck with me, and was to always bring your value and not to bring your doubt from your previous disappointments. Because if you're bringing that doubt in, it's going to show. And we were talking about persistence. You guys brought up health and all the things. And those of you that follow me on social media know that I have made multiple attempts at 75 hard and I'm not great at it. But each time I start, I don't start thinking I didn't do it last time, so I can't do it this time. And so I've made it further and further. I don't know that I'll do it again, but not bringing that disappointment forward, it leaves you open to learning so much more than just continuing to get disappointed and getting in that vicious cycle of just beating yourself up over and over and over again, especially in real estate, because you can get your rear end handed to you sometimes.
Yeah. And I love that. It's the power of positive thinking, Tara. And every time you restart, you're starting from experience, right? So personally, I have never done 75 hard. I most likely will never do 75 hard because I know myself well enough. But I've lost 180 pounds. And it was, this kind of lifestyle for me. And every time you slip a little bit, you're like, wow, I suck. Like, I'm terrible. I can't believe I did that, blah, blah, blah. Restart. And you're starting from all of that experience. So I love that you're so vulnerable and that you're so real, because that's what brings strength. And that's what makes you stronger every single time, not just in your personal life, but your professional life as well, because you're building that commitment to yourself. And I love that you start with a positive attitude, because that's important. It's really, really important.
Thanks.
Yeah. And I love that. So Tara, Jen, Chuck, Amanda, Miriam, all of us are kind of within the same marketplace-ish, but very, very different. And so it kind of leads to that agent to agent relationship piece that we were also going to talk about. I just had a conversation with Tara last week about potentially, working together on a deal. And I have a listing coming up down in her way in a couple of weeks that I know that I'm going to tag her in to help me with some open houses. And I've had situations where I've had to refer clients out to the Novak team because they just were not my niche, right? It wasn't my strong suit, or I knew that Rachel or Mike or Jen or somebody would be a much better fit for them. Having those agent to agent relationships is absolutely imperative right now. And also, none of us started it. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misspeaking. Most of us didn't start at Real. Like, we all started at a different real estate brokerage, and I didn't burn any bridges on my way out. Like, that was not my intention. Like, I didn't set the place on fire. I didn't throw anybody to the wolves. I've maintained relationships across brokerages. And in fact, our team holds a monthly mastermind in our office, and myself and a friend of mine, Molly's, and Miriam as well, we host a monthly ladies who lunch for people across the industries, because it's really, really important for all of us to learn from each other. We're in the relationship business, and just because you're with a different brokerage or just because you're in a different season of life doesn't mean you're my enemy. You're actually my friend, and I can learn something from you. And I learn something absolutely daily from every single person that I come across. I am not perfect. I am far from perfect. I make more mistakes than most people I know. I just have the humility to be able to announce that from the rooftops. And I'll be the first person to say, uh-oh, wow, what a bonehead. Oops. But learn from this. And I learned from this, because we can always learn from people in our industry, even newbies, even people who are literally one day, in the real estate business, or people who are 35 years in the real estate business. I learn from somebody new every single day. And you're not my enemy, you're my colleague, and you're my friend. And just because we're up against each other, I've been up against Rachel on a listing. Sometimes I've won, sometimes I haven't. And that's okay, because either I'm your cup of tea or she's your cup of tea, and that's fine. I don't take it as a failure. I take it as a win.
Oh, go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, the great thing about cultivating really wonderful agent to agent relationships is that the value that person needs, that client needs, is going to get to them one way or another.
Mhm.
For example, like I've on my son's team, there's a gal named Christina. She's wonderful. She actually was the buyer's agent on a transaction that Rachel and I were the list side long ago. And so before I even knew she was on the Greater Sound team, or maybe even before she was, I would give her a call whenever I have a client that needs someone who can speak Spanish. I know that she's going to deliver and give them excellent service, and that makes me feel good handing that relationship to somebody that I know that they're just going to do as good of a job as I would do for them if I was equipped to do so. And so when you can do that with your agent relationships, whether it's because of a language need that they may have, or their area is different, or things like that, it's just everybody wins. It gives you that confidence back to know that, hey, you're still providing value, even if it's just being a connector. You can't do that unless you have excellent agent to agent relationships.
Mm-hmm. There's also a
Mhm.
huge trust factor there, right? Because this is a relationship business. I need to be able to trust that my brand and my team's brand is being represented fairly. And so I am never out there. I don't care how bad a transaction has gone. I am never out there in the wild bad mouthing anybody or saying, oh my gosh, that was a complete crap show. Like it's just not who I am, right? Because 99%, I can guarantee you I'm going to sit across the table from that agent again, or I'm going to be submitting an offer on their listing, or something's going to happen where I'm going to need that relationship to be strong. And if I go out there and start bad mouthing somebody or talk negatively about how something happened outside the team, that's going to damage myself. That's going to damage my team. And that's the last thing I want. Like, the protection of us as an industry is so important right now, with everything that's going on. There's so much negativity out there about real estate agents, and we've all come across crazy real estate people who have no business being in the industry, right? Absolutely no business being in the industry. Am I ever going to say that out loud to anybody outside of this room or my safe bubble? Never. Like, never. I'm never going to go to my dad and be like, oh, you'll never guess, this guy Jim who lives in Worcester, you're never gonna, like, I'm never gonna do that. Like, it's just never, it's not appropriate. So our job in real estate is to protect ourselves and protect our industry and to take care of each other. Like, yeah, I might be competing against you, or I might be putting in an offer against you, or I might be up against you in whatever situation. And I'm going to fight tooth and nail for myself and fight tooth and nail for my client. And at the end of the day, I'm going to work with you again, probably 10 more times than I'm going to work with the guy I just submitted an offer for. So I'm going to maintain that relationship and maintain that positive attitude, because we need each other. So that's really, really important to me as a person and as a human, to just be a positive light and to share that with everybody.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Jim, I know we're running low on time here. What do we need to do? Do we need to wrap up?
Before I wrap up in a minute, I had one thing I wanted to chime in on what you were saying there, because I just had a couple experiences where, I mean, as a team, I think there's a lot of times, like, we submit offers and properties and we get opportunities to maybe match an offer, and a lot where they say, hey, we want, and I do it on the list side. If I see an agent come in that's pretty close and the seller is going to be better off if this person wins the deal, we're going to find a way to make it work. And I think that gives, by not being a jerk and by getting things to the finish line and communicating, you end up having that happen. But you said it, Majan, on, not burning bridges. Like this morning, I got referral from an agent from my previous brokerage. I was actually, about 3 weeks ago, they did a mastermind. It was a bunch of Keller Williams agents and me. All together, is like 12 of them. We used to always mastermind together. Like, all my friendships are there. The friendships are the same, different name, different business name on the sign. And we collaborate and we help. A lot of the people that are in that room, we overlap in markets to some extent too. And it's like having that relationship where there's what do they say? There's no competition at the top. Like, everybody can help everybody get better, even if they're in the same market, without anybody losing anything. So that's all I wanted to chime in on that, because I think our business has done really well by not being jerks to our co-brokes, not being jerk to appraisers. It's a tough time out there. Some of these agents may not make it through some of these tough times, and they're going to have agents they need to refer that business to. Be the agent they want to refer that to. And if you can help them stay in the business, great. But if you can't, like I said, that's so just treat everybody like people and right, and you'll do well. Don't treat anybody less than you.
Work hard, be kind. I've heard this somewhere.
That's simple. That's simple.
Oh my goodness, you just see what that happened when I made a heart sign and a heart.
Yes.
Whoa, that's fancy.
Does that do that?
Yes, I think that's, look at that. Go ahead, Amanda, do it.
Come on, Jim, let me see it.
Come on, Jim. Oh, it's just me?
Maybe it's just
got something cool in here. Oh, there she did.
Wow. We just learned some stuff.
Look
like
at
an
that.
Easter egg.
Maybe I
Hopefully
just
that's
can't
not
do
the
it.
number one takeaway, but that's amazing.
That's okay.
FaceTime got a new update for Apple, so maybe Zoom
I
jumped in
think it's Apple.
because if you do like a thumbs up on FaceTime, it'll like do crazy stuff. So it might be maybe Zoom is jumping on the.
Okay. So
Look
that
at
just
that.
went off topic, didn't it?
You guys all have
All
Macs.
these hearts going through the air.
Yeah.
I love it.
All these dudes are going to be doing that on all of their Zooms now. I know it.
Okay. So we all just learned some really good stuff, and then just ended it with how to make hearts just
Perfect.
No doubt.
Perfect.
on the
The
Zoom.
biggest takeaway today is the heart, right?
It's the
Yeah,
heart. That's okay. That's a win. I'm all for that. I love it.
It's a good one. It's a good way to end. It's a good way to end. So guys,
This was a
thank you
great
so
one.
much for being here. Thank you for being a part of this. My son, what a
Mhm.
great presentation. We loved having you as a guest, and come back anytime and participate. Definitely, we loved having you on. Jim, last words?
That was it. Yeah, I was just the same thing. It was great to have a guest, have somebody bring some new information, some new material. And I mean, I saw a lot of the chats here. I think everybody got a lot from this, because sometimes this stuff is what we need, is like, how do we get ourselves to show up and do it? You know, we know how to do stuff. Just, are we going to get up and go and do it? And that's actually the harder of the two.
Get yourself an accountability partner who calls you on your crap, like Jen. She calls me on my crap all the time. I love it.
Well, it's truly people that care about each other that do that, right? So awesome. Well,
100%,
thank
my
you.
son. I got your back.
Thank you.
One way or another. One way or another. All right, gang. Well, thank you for being here, and we will see you next week. I don't know. There's a special guest, I think, again next week in there, Jim.
Yes, we have a special guest as well, and I think you're in charge next week, because that's the week I'm away too.
I'm out as well, so I think they're
Oh.
Yep.
Yes.
I think we're both out next week, so
Okay.
I think that person's running it. So
Okay, so we'll connect
that's the
with our
first time
special
you've done
guest
that
for
as
next
well.
week.
That's a lot of faith, you guys.
Right
That's a
away.
lot of faith.
That's all right. Hey, I know you guys will all take care of whoever's on here, so we
Exactly.
appreciate it.
We got it covered.
All right. Good to see y'all.